film them, we put them on our website, and that's good for our members who are abroad, and there are a lot that are abroad, so, or anywhere else that can't make it, and obviously we can pick up on the website. But equally, I'd like to say that if you just watch some of the questions that you're asking, because it is being televised, let's say, so I think that's the most politically correct way to put it. What I'd like to do as well is, if you don't mind, can we go through myself, through the chair, for any questions, and we'll try and get back to answer as many questions as we possibly can. So, who's first up? Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask Pat, you played in the two best Hibs teams I've ever seen, 64-5 and 72-73. There's two parts to the question. Which was the better team, in your opinion? Who was the better manager, Steve or Turnbull?
A lot of people forget about that team. The first one, the terrific Neil Martin, Molly Hammond, probably the best, most gifted player I ever played with. Trouble with a discipline problem, you know. I enjoyed the drink, things like that. But I think the one in the 70s, the Turnbull's team, I think that just shaded it a wee bit.
Did a better defence?
I think we did, and we had some terrific players there. My favourite player at East Road, the one that won apart from Joe Baker, who was my hero, was Alec Cropley. I thought Alec Cropley was a marvellous player. But I think that team, because I can remember Hibs played Sporting Lisbon. I know we beat them here. That night we played them in Lisbon. They beat us 2-1. That's the best Hibs team I played in. That night, that Hibs team could have been anything. The way they played in Lisbon. But I was very lucky to play in these teams. I really was, you know, to play.
You were lucky to have you.
Yeah, the two managers, I would say Eddie Turnbull was a great, he knew the game inside out. But if you were asking me who was the best manager, I'd say Steve. I think Steve, terrific. You know, I can never understand how Steve never got knighted. You know, Shankly never got knighted. Brian Clough never got knighted. Trevor Brooke in West Ham United. I don't know what he did to get one. These three men, terrific in the game, in the British game. None of them got knighted, and I think it's an absolute disgrace. But like I say, I would have said the 72 team just shaded it a bit. And the manager, I would say, at least.
Yes. One here.
Most of us older members of the branch fondly remember 7-0. But what's the best performance that you've played on as a Hibs player?
Well, I think going back to what I mentioned there with the way we played that night in Lisbon was terrific. But I think that, you know, it's New Year's Day, Hearts at Tynecastle, a lot of Hibs supporters in the Hibs team. To go to Tynecastle and turn them over 7-0 is special for us. Funny enough, a couple of days before that, we played Aberdeen at Easter Road. We beat Aberdeen 2-1. And I remember going home that night with Jimmy O'Rourke in the car. It should have been about 9-1. Jimmy says, somebody's going to catch it. And it just happened with our pals at
Pat, looking back over a wonderful career playing and in managing football, what might you have done different if you were doing anything different? If you had the time again, Pat, would you have done anything different at all?
I'd had chances to move, you know. Like Chelsea wanted me, and Tottenham and teams like that. My dad didn't want me to go. You know?
Sensible man.
I'll tell you, my mother used to buy my dad, at Christmas time, she used to buy him maroon socks. And we'd all be sitting opening our presents and we'd be watching him opening his parcel, and every Christmas he'd open them, here's his maroon socks, and he used to put them down the side of his chair. And he just used to shake his head every Christmas. And my mother, she'd never split on. So there's an old chair somewhere in Edinburgh. He wouldn't, you know, he worked in the brewery, he wouldn't wear them to his work. I remember when we had come back from America one time, we had blazers, beautiful blazers they gave us, Edinburgh coat of arms on it, beautiful things. And when we came back, I just gave him it for, as a keepsake. You know, he wore it to the brewery. best worker in the place.
Francis.
But I had the pleasure to work with your dad in Drivers Brewery. Did your dad was he a player at all, or was he just a supporter and told you the right way?
He told me he was a great player. It was funny when you brought a pal to the house, you know, my brothers are all football, everybody played football, they all have supporters, you know. But if you brought a pal, my dad would assume that he played football. And he'd talk to the laddie and he'd say, who do you play for, son? And the laddie would say, I didn't play football. Oh, I've got to see the weeks ago. Hey, you thought you'd got a transvestite.
Pat, you touched on the 7-9 game, there was a few heavies in the team. This season, allegedly, we've been beaten by the worst team 4 times. And when you look at the psyche of the Hearts players now, all the young lads, the majority of them were, a good half of them are good Hearts supporters. You know, I think that's what's missing in the Hibs team.
I used to get annoyed that there were good players, you know, the 2 Muslims that we had. Was it Mohammed? You know, they missed the game because of Ramadan. Zamama, and you know, they had to go fasting and all that. But we were fasting up in Nidri every Thursday night. For them to blow the kiss in the bags, you know, the biggest Hibs man I've come across, apart from a lot of the guys that I've met over the years in here, playing wise, was Jimmy Rourke. I never saw Jimmy kissing the jersey. And so, for me, sitting watching that, it's nonsense. You know, somebody coming from out and Mongolia, and then the guys play. That's it. I've always wanted to play, so get away.
Can I ask you, but obviously it's well known that Wally Howard was the best player you ever played with. Who was the player you came up against that you couldn't stand? Because there was a lot of dirty players in the eras that you played in.
It's funny how there was a guy who played for Rangers, Davy Wilson.
Oh, Danny Wilson.
Oh, he was dying years ago. Years ago. And, you know, he was looking at the referee as he fell down. And I had my mind made up about him that I hated him. Now, that's the wrong word, you know. That's like. I remember speaking to him, he went to Dundee United. And I'd been ill for a wee cut the game. And we were ready to start. He came right across the park before the kick-off to ask how I was doing. And I changed like that about him. You know, I despised him up to then. And then I got to know him better. And one of the nicest men I ever met. And it just shows you can be wrong. You know? And he was a terrific player as well. Terrific. But you know, you're talking about players that used to run. The thing I can't get around my head on is, you know, the players that I've played over the years, the players that have come through, like Sally Crocker came from Magdalen, Jimmy Rourke came from Clermont, I was from Nidri, and people, Alan Gordon from Scotland here as well. But what I can't understand is, how is it that we play the likes of St Johnstone, St Mirren, the Motherwells? We've not got a divine right to have the best players, but they've all got better players than us. How has that come about?
Taking them half an hour.
But who is it? I would like to speak to whoever makes that decision. Who? What made you think he was a player? Because the chap with the beard, him with the absent packet, you know.
Somebody scouted him and looked at him and went,
well, you really have to get the scouting and say, what made you think this guy? Because you've really got, and you've got to get the right people to do the job, you know. I remember years ago that the guy who was willing to drive the van about and take the laddies to their games and that, he got the job as a scout. Because he was willing to drive the van about. You wouldn't know a player if you got him on the bum, you know. That's important, and I think the arts are talking about it. And if you look back over the Hibs thing, the best players that ever played at Easterwood didn't come from far away from the ground. Hearts, Aberdeen, even Man United, and you go to Barcelona. You know that the guy that played at the back, Puyol, him with the long hair, he was a local. Baresi, that played in Italy, you know, probably in AC, what a player he was. He had been there since he was a kid. He was the soul of the team. You know, you could go to, say you could go to Airdrie on a real cold night in a cup tie, and you know your great forwards, you know, they played for Milan at the time. Never know fancy it. But Baresi would play, and that's the difference. That Puyol would play. You need these guys in your team. They're probably not the best player in the team, so they're the people that matter. It's like Alec Ferguson used to say when we were at Aberdeen, if you go to places like Celtic Park and Ibrox, the referees know way. Definitely, they can say what they want about it. There's no way. Paul Carroll back up and up. Ferguson, you've got to be able to play when the drums are beating, you know, when the Ross is screaming, you've got to play. And he had people like Willie Miller who could do it, Alec McLeish, Strachan.
You'll have the character in the team. Somebody, I always say, like the big games in a rugby game, somebody that sets the tone in the first 10 minutes, that puts the tackle in and says, it's all organised. This is what's happening when you come near me. That's something that just sets that tone. But it just isn't happening in the big games for us.
You know, you get people, you know, Roy Keane, people like that, Paul Scholes, these people, the guys that played alongside me, the Blackleys and people like that. There's an old saying, you know, that when these guys came to Easterwood as youngsters, they had that in them. You just trained them and made them aware that they had that wee bit will to win. It's an old saying, if God left it out, you'll not put it in them. And unfortunately, we've got a few in there. Thank God we have a job in there. And the thing is, they're doing it every week. You know, you look at all this what's went wrong with the Hibs didn't start 2 or 3 weeks ago. No. You go away back seasons when the gradual decline was coming, and everybody seemed to be aware of it, but the people who could do it right. John Collins, did anybody ever find out what happened to John? What was his reason for leaving?
Carol could really tell us.
Tom, go on for yourself.
But you mentioned Baresi, like many of us in the room, you had a great opportunity to see yourself playing at Cropleys and people like that. Brilliant, brilliant. So on Baresi, and like yourself, you were masters at reading the game. And like, who would you think would be, nowadays, is it a lost art? Because very seldom we see great players read a game. Do you know what I mean?
I think the game's just changed so much. You know? I think it has. You know that you see teams playing with one up front now. You know that's changed the game. You can go and watch. Remember a wee bit for your question. But you go and watch Barcelona playing or Italy and teams like that playing with one up front. The guy up front's Messi. You know, and the 5 midfield players, whatever you play in midfield, they're all world-class players. Now, we can't go to a ground with one up front, with 4 midfield players, because we're not got the players to do that. We're not got the players. You've got guys in there who score a goal, and it's in the papers on the Monday night. That's his first goal in 4 seasons. Chance here. Not even had a shot at goal.
There was science that they think that you had a problem with any player that you played against, right? Boys like Barney used to say, who do you think was the best player today? I'm talking about for 70, 71, 72, 75. Who's the best player? Well, he's done it. Man of the match every week for us youngsters at that time. Was there a player that you, maybe one player you thought, I can't get the measure of this guy? Was there ever a player that you came up against that you thought, I'm not seen it toilet?
Drew Busby.
Really?
Didn't like playing against him.
What was it about him, Pat?
He was tough, but it wouldn't. You'd see him coming. You know, you'd see him coming 10 yards away, and you knew what was happening. It was up to you to get out of the road. he could, let's me when they walk up behind you, or elbow you as they walk past you. You saw it happening, and he was a terrific player for the Hearts, terrific player for Airdrie, him and Jarvie, but nicer man you couldn't meet. Terrific, great to speak to, but
Just a fair warrior.
just that's it. No quarter given.
One question over.
Matt, can I just ask you, was there anything that Joe Steen said to you when you had your first match for Celtic?
When I went there, I was an experienced guy, but he said, you know, and when Jock Steele was the manager at Easter Road, I played at the back with John McNamee, 27 and a half. And Jock left and went to Celtic. I never played in that position again until I went to Celtic, and there was a few seasons in interval with that. But I remember when my first game at Celtic back, I don't think it was against Rangers or whatever, and he said, you're here, we're losing stupid goals. What he meant was, most of the time Celtic are doing the attacking, and you're going to be alert. You can be sit there for 15 minutes without touching the ball. When it does happen, you're going to be alert. And they were going to sleep, and they were getting caught with just a thump up the quad. And that's what I was there to do. I won the league and the cup, and I don't think I went over the halfway line. I just stood there, and he says to me, we had the big Roddy McDonald was the centre half. He says, let him, Roddy was 6 feet odd. He says, let him attack the ball. He says, and just you assume that he's got to miss it. you never missed it. Oh, no, and that's the ball comes through me, and I would pass it back to the goalie, and I'd get a clap. And I was doing nothing. And you get guys like Bill Push and all these people running their hearts out, trying to score goals, and I'm at the back there getting clapped for doing it.
Jackie, got a question out of the back.
Hi Pat. Over the years Hibs have had a few international goalkeepers. Who would you say was the best goalkeeper that you've ever played with in the same team or in the opposition's team?
There's been some great goalkeepers. Well, Hibs have always had great goalers. Way back to Jimmy Kerr, Tommy Younger, people like that. But I think Ronnie Simpson, outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. He wasn't the tallest. And I remember remember Ronnie had a great reputation for saving penalties. And I remember speaking to him and he says, what is it you do that's different? He says, I don't do anything that's different. He says, all I do is, you know, if you watch penalty takes, the goalie stands right in the middle of the goals. Ronnie used to stand just a wee bit off centre, so he knew who they were going to hit. You know, he's standing looking at you saying, I know what's coming here. But he didn't stand, and he said, that's all I did. He says, I just stood just a wee bit off centre, and left on the big side, and then Leicester winning 2-0 with 10 seconds to go. You will try it for the wee side. He says, so that's all he did. But it was just a great goalkeeper.
Am I right in saying it?
You hear a lot about injuries and injured players that are injured and out for a long time. What's the worst injury you've ever had?
Worst injury?
And how long were you?
Well, the last one was the one that put me had to finish. It was just a knee. It was just wear and tear. It was just over the years, injuries caught up with you. I broke a toe, broke my big toe and my wee toe. But I can tell you what about, I was at Tynecastle one night and I got hit in the face with a ball and I got knocked out. And I was lying there, my mother was at the game with my dad. My mother didn't go to many games. And that night when I came home, I was sitting in the living room and my mother's talking to my dad about the game. And my mother came through and she says, how's that lad you got hit in the face with a ball? My dad just shook his head. And you're sitting there with your coat and a big mic.
Sorry, Ian. Sorry.
But like you, Joe Baker was my idol. A wee bit younger and you know much about a wee bit. The 70s team for me, unlike you, I thought was special. But there was one weakness for me, and that was the centre half. Do you think we signed George Stewart a year too late?
Well, maybe. George has told me that plenty of times. Joe is, you know, the players used to turn up at the, you know, to training, and Paul will tell you, in the days there wasn't many cars. The guys had cars, but not to the same extent as they have now. Joe had a big Vauxhall Cresta with white wall tyres. He did something out in Hollywood. Smart with silk suits on. Handsome man. And he could play. Oh, what a player. I don't know, Jimmy O'Rourke and I were in early one day, it was a midweek game, so we were about 3 o'clock for a bit some light training. So Jimmy and I are ready, and Joe comes walking in, you know, with his suit on and all. And he took his jacket off, hung it up, and then stand up on the seat so that the trousers are low, going the so he took his trousers off. Jimmy's looking, and Jimmy said, let's look at that. His shirt, you know that bit of the shirt was ripped out. And Jimmy says to him, and it was a sort of burgundy coloured shirt. And Jimmy says to Joe, what's happened to your shirt? And without replying, he just turned his jacket around the lapel. He had a hanky. this was a matching hanky. I ripped it at the tail of the shirt.
Hi, Pat, you mentioned one of my couple heroes, Big John McNamee. A tale or two to mention about Big John. You could do well now in this defence anyway, that's for sure.
Love playing the Rangers, eh?
Oh, it was like a caged animal. Because I remember he used to be prowling the dressing room before a Rangers game. He had his sleeves rolled up and he's muttering away like, you know who we're playing today? You know who's through in that dressing room? Oh, but I played against Celtic at Ibrox. John got sent off. That was a shock. He got sent off for trying to kick John Hughes. And he had walked off, and Neely Mockin spoke to me a few years later. John had walked off over the track at Ibrox, just about to go through the tunnel, and he kicked the Celtic dugout, which is brick. And there was bits of masonry flying around. And Neely Mockin says, I've never been so terrified. And that night, Big John, I'm not sure who the referee was, but John McNamee turned and was walking back onto the pitch. And I says, now where are you going? He says, I'm going to get the ref. And that's what he tried to get, grab him, but he just kept walking. You know. I was making a difference, and he changed his mind a bit. Great player, terrific.
Thanks.
Just in addition to what the gentleman over there said a while ago about players you didn't like, my brother and I used to watch in amazement that you were always such a gentleman in the way you played. I mean, compared to the Rangers team in those days, you know, you never fouled unless you really had to. you had to they fouled all the time, but you had something against Tommy Traynor. Can you tell us why? Did he do you when you were a youngster or something?
Tommy Traynor?
He said a red rag, a red rag and pats after Tommy Traynor. He chased him up and down, trying to get him.
I didn't like him. The fact he was wearing a Hertz jersey.
Even when he played for Dundee United, you were
Steam coming out the ears.
Aye, but he was smuggling for me.
Gordon, you mentioned your Magua wrestler so 2 or 3 times. You've told me this story. When you went to Canada to play in Chester, we for the laddie Barrett.
Oh, that's a story. I lived in Nibby Marshall Grove. There was a guy, I don't know, old Craig Miller, the picture house, the county Craig Miller, you know. Anyway, there was a guy who had emigrated years ago, a guy called Tommy Barrett, who, he knew my brothers, but I was too young to really know who the guy was. So, we're in, I think it was Montreal, and we're playing a team called Montreal Italia, and it was a booting match. They were getting away with murder. I think it was an Italian referee as well. It was just, things were going from bad to worse. I think Peter Cormack got sent off, Jim Scott got sent off. So there was a guy who was causing all the bother playing for Montreal, but he wasn't as dark as the rest of them. He's sort of lightish here. So anyway, this guy was causing mayhem. So when the game finished, the dressing rooms were behind the goal, so you had to walk across the pitch. And there was police all around the side of the track. It was quite an ugly scene, you know. So I'm walking towards the dressing room, and this, with the corner of my eye, I saw this guy who'd been causing all the trouble and getting away with it, coming up alongside me, and you're half expecting him just to hit you as he went by. And he sort of stood in front of me and he looked at me, and I looked at him and he went, "How's your man Dad getting?" I went, "You're not talking about it, eh?" He says, "I went to St. Francis with your brother." And when I came back the trip, I was kind of starting to remember all the things that happened, and I said to my mother, I met a guy called Tommy Barrett in Montreal. Oh, she says, "Oh, lovely lad." I think he was an altar boy and everything.
Hey Pat, you've been talking about like your dad who's doing instruction and on and stuff, but a couple of years ago I did a bit of genealogy and could do, oh brilliant, you know, my mum's for the Cow Gate, granddad's for the Cannon Gate, brilliant. Found out granddad was born in Leith in 1875, brilliant. Met my cousin to Florida, turns out he was at Jammo. What about yourself back through the generations? Where were the lines fit? Where did they decide? Were they Edinburgh?
I think my dad's side, they were all lived in the Cannon Gate, and they all went to St. Patrick's as our parish. But they were all in there, and they were all, that Vera were all hip supporters. I used to get told the stories, you know, about Wheelahan and Dan McMichael. But when you were getting told these stories, you weren't really attaching great significance to them. But now, after all these years of association with the Hibs, you find a connection as strong as that. It's really good, you know, but at the time you weren't aware of it. But I heard all these names years and years ago, you know. But I remember starting at East Road as a 13-year-old, going on a Tuesday and Thursday night to train, and it's still the same going into the ground. You know, I know the ground's changed, but you still get that wee feeling about the place. You know, that's never left me at all. You know? Even when I was climbing over the wall, I get it for nothing. I was very, very lucky. It's a hard game. Football's a hard game. You've got to be lucky because when I went to Easter Road, the guys that were in my position were Tommy Preston and John Baxter and John Grant and all these people who were a great help to me. A lot of these guys could have just went, nah, it's our position, you're not getting it. These men were out their way to help, and they were a big help to me. I could have went there. These guys were maybe in their early 30s when I started. But they could have been in their early 20s and I wouldn't have got the chance. So you've got to be fortunate, be there at the right time and avoid injury. You've got to avoid injury. My injuries came at the end of my career. Some real good players get injuries early on and they just didn't quite get through it. You know, that's it. You've got to be lucky.
Well, I've got one for you. See, fans all had a real love affair with Frank Soddy and George Best played there. These kind of players that come at the end of their life, if you could say, what's your view on them?
I think it was great to go to East Road and George Best. You know, I know he was at the end of his career and all that sort of stuff, but he was well liked with the players. Outstanding player, one of the best ever. Frank Soddy came there. Frank could have just come there and just played away and not bother him too much. But he had enough pride in himself, the way he conducted himself at training and on the park. And young players would see that. You know, the follow examples, unfortunately, over the last 2 or 3 years, we've had some real bad examples. But you got a guy like Frank Soddy, you're a young player, and you say, well, I want to do well in the game, that's how I've got to behave and play like that. But he was a credit to himself, it really was. He could quite easily just went to grass and no bother, but I think he likes going against the Arsenal.
You mentioned Alec Cropley. I was brought up with the Tornadoes as well, and for me, I've never seen a player so thin that could tackle like a tiger. It was absolutely tremendous. Is there any stories about surgery you can tell us?
Oh, okay, but tell you one day, that 7-0 game, we're coming up the tunnel at half time, it was 5-0 at half time. And he said to Alan Anderson, what's the score? Really a wee stushy in the tunnel at half time. But he was, I remember speaking to him, though, Alex, you're right, she's tackling, he was like that. And he was I remember saying to him, no, there's certain tackles, you know, you just look at it and you know it's not good for you, you stay at it. You know, the people can shout what they like, oh, you're gypped it or whatever, they'll not come and visit you. There's certain Alec when he would go into tackles, you really shouldn't have gone in there. No.
I agree with that.
But the real walk a wee more just but they've all got that in common. Him sitting over there is as bad as anybody.
Defend yourself, Paul.
They've all got that, they bring that with them, you know, like to Cropley's attitude and, you know, Blackley and all that. These guys, it's just in them. And
Mickey Edwards.
Scottish yourself, Black.
Not a Scottish cap, not one cap.
I was just going to say, you had a few caps, but that particular team, I don't know what the grand total of Scottish caps were, but it's a couple of hands for you, really, when you think about it. Was it because of the bias toward Rangers and Celtic?
Well, I think they tell you that the Rangers and Celtic didn't get the benefit of the doubt. They do. You know, there's guys there that got caps, they should never have been near international level. But how Alec Edwards never got a cap, I just can't know.
Discipline. We were talking about Anglo-Scottish players at one time, Pat, that maybe Scotland, all the guys were maybe Liverpool, Man United, and I was about 11 at the time, 11 or 12, and they said, and you know, you were writing at the evening news where you're sort of Scots that were based in Scotland team, and you know, I just wrote in Turnbull's Tornadoes, it was a part with Jim Herriot and Jim Black. The other 9 of you were a stick on for loads of Scottish caps. Would you agree with that?
There was a lot of internationals in that team, you know, and Eric,
That's what gets me. I've taken my boys, who are now 30 and 28, they were 5-year-old. His man dad took me when I was 5-year-old, and they're taking their children at 5-year-old sort of thing. It just one of these things, the family and what have you. My laddies, I spoke to them the other day, they're a wee bit depressed after every game, actually. And they were saying, I was trying to explain to them what they had missed out with Turnbull's Tornadoes, that virtually, okay, one or two touch, but virtually every player in that team was good. And they've never seen that. And perhaps they'll never see that.
But it's just the game's changed. It's changed completely now. Even when you hear them talking about the manager of Man United got their sack after 8 months or so. Alec Ferguson was there 3 years before he won anything. You know, and they refer to things like global brand. It used to be a football team, it's all changed, you know.
But moving forward, if we get through the playoffs, where do you think we should go? Because there's got to be change at Easter Road. Because they keep saying this the training system at East Mains, and it's the best facilities ever. It's not doing anything for the players.
No, this windy change is coming.
Yeah.
I think it's maybe just a half blown. But I remember, because the training facilities, I can remember that our training facilities, we didn't have any. And you'd maybe go down, you'd maybe go up to the Jack Kane Centre on a wet day, and the parkie wouldn't let you in it. And then you go down to Holyrood Park, and the parkie would chase you through there. You'd go to Seafield, and chase you through there, you'd end up on the beach. And that was the first facility you had, you know, we didn't have any gymnasiums or anything like that. I can remember, it just shows you how things have changed. You know, you see the kids wearing these pink boots and blue boots. I remember in the old days, if you say you needed a new pair of boots, you had to go to the manager with your old one, with the ones that you'd got, and show them. And if he thought they were beyond repair, he gave you a wee chitty to go to Thornton's and Princess Street. And the top of the range was an Adidas 2000, and it was 13 quid. But the chitty you got was for 10. It's not changed. It's not changed. I remember when I was in a long Easter and Willie said to Willie Turner, I said, Willie, how do you know if they've got, this was when they signed it from year to year, nearly these 3-4 year deals. I says, how do you know if they've got to keep you on? And he says to me, how's your boots? I said, well, look. He says, take them to the manager. That's true, you would have the boots and if he said to you, can you not wait until day a wee while longer? That was what happened.
Getting back to Turnbull's Tornadoes part in the 70s when we won the League Cup, and we were runners up to Celtic on at least 2 occasions that I can remember, you know, in the league. Was there at any point that you thought, this is our season, we can actually bring the championship back to Easter Road?
I think the season when Alec Edwards got sent, he got a few games. Alan Gordon, and Alan got injured as well, on against his fight, I think it was, and things didn't go quite right. But going back to that, you know, you talked about the League Cup game, we should have won a lot better with that. That League Cup game, that was a terrific Celtic side. That's that, but that day the scoreline could have been 5-1 for that. But I remember they brought a ruling that once you got the cup, you couldn't go back out the pitch because there had been bother at an Old Firm game, and they weren't allowed to parade the cup in the track. And I can remember speaking to Jimmy O'Rourke going through on the bus that day. First cup they'd won in about 70 years through there. And I remember saying to Jimmy, I said, we're not allowed back, if we're ahead when the final whistle goes, we're not allowed onto the pitch once we've got the cup. And I said, what we'll do is, if we're ahead, we'll go to the supporters first, before we wait and go and get the cup. That's the biggest kick I've had because we were a good side, and we were disappointed ourselves and the supporters. Remember that day, it was snowing and raining that day, and the final whistle went, and the pitch support was fantastic, and to go over to them, you know.
I felt you were actually running to Celtic.
When the final whistle went, it took ages because the police had stopped her there. It was eternity waiting for the final. And when the final whistle went, I looked at Jimmy and I said, what a feeling that was. And he still never got me a drink.
One way for me, the pitch at the moment goes through a really bad patch, but it's maybe an observation, but in conversations I've had with members here and a lot of places, why do you know involved, not any management but just encouragement, this kind of conversation. This conversation for these guys and for myself will last a long time. And why is that why do you not think that there's a...
I don't know. We're just talking about a player there, Paul knows him well, Jimmy O'Rourke. Jimmy O'Rourke's not just one of these, I remember Jimmy over the years, you know, how we never arrested him. But Jimmy, to me, has got a terrific eye for a player, and not everybody's got that. Ex-players, a lot of great, terrific players have just, in my opinion, Jimmy did have that. Now, I thought they should, over the years, get Jimmy in and say, Jimmy, this is a away and look at, just go and look at players. Didn't bring in 20 every week. Bring in one every 6 months that's worthwhile. He's no wasting our time or his time. And he had an eye for that, and I think it's a great shame that nobody ever asked him. And when you look at what we've got through there, you say to yourself, who is it picking these players? You know what we're saying down there. Well, somebody's picking them, he's not getting it right.
Bon, Mark, we're talking about your football career. Management now. How good would it to be head manager and finish on board this?
It was, to be asked to do it, you know, at the time, the way things were, the club was struggling a bit at the time. But when you get asked, see if you didn't take it, the chance might never come again. And your heart rules your head, you know, and you say, I'll give this a go, and you go in there, and Paul was there, and you know, it's some of the things you're having to do, you know, and it just so happened that there was we only got to get money, you know, there was no money. But people like Paul, Michael Weir, Gordon Hunter, John Collins, all these guys all come through at the one time, and it never cost the club anything. And all these guys wanted to play for the club. And, you know, I remember, I'll just tell you how daft it is with Gordon Hunter. Gordon Hunter was on a provisional form. And he never speaks to anybody for a while. He speaks to the last year in the person who's in the boots. Honestly, and I was sitting in the dressing room, it was a nice day, and the door was open, and I could see he was coming in the corridor, and the big man appeared, and that's Gordon. So when he came, and I wasn't thinking, and I said, how you doing? And he said, I've just left school, and I went, what you got to do? You know, I've got on a building site somewhere. And he says, could you put me on the ground staff? And I went, all right enough, and I took Seven along to Cecil Graham, and that's how he signed for him. Me, I was sitting there, I was awake at the time. Eh?
Man's first contract?
No, the nightmare dealing with him. When you went in the drawer, you'll check yourself with your watch.
Yes, I've still got it. What's your views on a certain Joe Harper? How did he impact in years with the Turnbull's Tornadoes team?
Joe was a good player. And there's no doubt Joe was a good player. But he had been at Everton for a wee while, and like a lot of managers, they've got favourite players, and they didn't age for them.
Yeah.
But Joe had been doing it a few seasons, and he wasn't the player he was at Aberdeen. That had gone. And when he came back, I would say he was overweight, but he wasn't the tallest, so sometimes they play better with a bit weight on them. But I felt that he got away with things that other players didn't get away with, and that's bad. Because I can remember one day, Joe used, when Tom Eddie was getting his team talk, everybody's sitting upright in the dressing room, but Joe used to lie along the seat like this. And the players, Eddie never at any time said, listen, but I remember one day Eddie called Marcel and Ali Cropley into his office and he says, listen, there's resentment towards Joe here. I says, there's no any resentment towards Joe. I said, Joe's a terrific player, a nice guy, nothing wrong with that. I said, but he's getting away with things that other folk didn't get away with. And Eddie says to me, what, like? I said, well, you should see it. Whenever you're having your team talk, he's lying along the bench and we're all sitting. And he says, oh, well, that'll have to stop. I said, it's too late, you should have stopped it right away. The seeds have been sown.
I'm not right in thinking that you actually had this incorrupt beard and everything.
Oh, that was,
pretty well.
I think that one with the beard, where Tom Hart insisted. See if Tom Hart had left a message at the ground saying everybody had to be clean shaven for the photograph that they were going to take. That's what it was. If Tom Hart had just left it with Tommy McNiven, the trainer, and said, Tam, go and have a word with Joe. See if Tam had went to Joe, there's a team photograph, would you mind shaving your beard? Joe would have done it. But it was the way Tom Hart left the message for somebody else to tell him. It was heavy-handed. Tom Hart was maybe right, but he could have done it better than that. And it was just the way Joe was told. If he had left it with Tam McNiven, Joe would have shaved off. There'd been no bother.
moving to the last few questions. So.
Hi, you spoke with Wally Hall. He was a great player. What's your favourite story about Wally?
There's so many stories about him, you know. But I remember one that he started, we were playing Rangers, and I was no longer in the team, and Wally's sitting there, and he says, you know, you can feel the buzz in the stadium, you know, and you're in the dressing room, but you can feel the buzz, there's a big crowd, and Wally's just sitting there, I think he was reading the paper, and he says, what's he saying to me? He says, you can, he says, Gene Pitney and I have got something in common. Now his party piece was 24 hours with Tulsa. Gene Pitney song. Now this is just waiting to go to the Rangers. I said, what you've got in common with Gene Pitney and Africa? Normally. I says, well, Gene Pitney didn't come for Airdrie, did he? No. I said, well, what you got in common? He says, none of the two of us have got a Scottish cap. And I can't remember who was, John Fraser was sitting along with John, so he's looking at it for a shake his head. That's all he was. He was some player, but remember another time we played, I think it was the same game, and Jim Baxter was playing for Rangers, and Wally says to me, this was prior to going out, this was after the Tulsa thing, you know, and Wally says, Baxter, he says, Pat, he says, no problem with Baxter today, he says, you can't tackle, you can't run, he says, you can't head a ball, and he's all left fine. He says, you'll have no problems with him. So I'm standing out and waiting for the game to start, and Baxter's standing no far away, and Willie's come walking past me to take up his position. He says, Pat, I forgot to tell you. I says, what's that? He says, Baxter's some player. Their legs just went to war. Terrific player, but but Steen liked him, you know, he could get away with things with Steen, but he just lacked discipline. Just, yeah, that, see, like, by guys like Baxter, Best, and Willie Hamilton, people like that, Stan Bowles that played the QPR, all these guys have got that much ability. The rest of us are on our bed on Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night. These guys are out on a Friday night. They've got that much ability. On the Saturday, it's no problem. Come 26, 27, they're finished. You can't do it, you know? It doesn't matter how much ability you've got.
But going back to 1973, just a curious question. What did you do that evening after the game? Where did you go?
That game?
That game.
We used to go to a place up in Brunsfield, Links, a wee hotel, but that night we just, I think we were still that excited about it. We just had a couple of pints and went in.
Alec Crawford claims he went to his granny's in Urus, had his tea, that's what he did.
Granny in Urus? I look at that, but he didn't come with us. We normally just went for it, just chatting about the game and that. I think we were that high with the whole thing, you know, because it's not every day you go there and do that.
No, really.
I think that there wasn't the same drink culture, you know.
Just a bit to wrap up, one question.
Matt, do you not feel, I was at the 7-0 game, and I always felt that we could have scored a lot more in the second half. I think we took it easy on them.
Well, no, maybe you're right about that. But Paul will tell you, you can't dominate a game. We knew they would come at us in the second half. We knew that. They were at Tynecastle, they were getting 5 down. It's a bit of embarrassment for them. So they came at us, we knew that. But Eddie knew that as well. He says, then you go looking for another goal right after half-time. Because half-time makes the game another, it breaks the game up. The second half's another game. Half-time does that to the game. You know, you think things will just carry on as it did in the first half. Well, no, you've got to start again. And Eddie said, and you rightly say, didn't go looking for a goal right away. Just sit back, because they'll come at you. They've got their pride. They've got to try and salvage something. And he was right. We sat back, and we picked them off twice later on. Maybe should have scored more, but he was spot on in what he said. We would have probably gone out and just gung-hoed and lost a couple of goals, but he was right what he said. Just
There was 2 Hearts supporters behind me that day. I was in the main stand, and they, one of them turned to the other one at half time and said, I hope the Hearts don't score, I'll give them a cheer.
Aye, but and that was what I remember about that day as well. There was a guy, we had got off the bus going into the bus prior to the game. There was a guy who lived across the road from me in Craig Miller, and he was standing there with a fish supper. And it was cold, and the smell of the fish and chips all over. Beautiful. You know, like, he says, you want a chip? Never was a chip. That's what I remember about that game. I'm standing there with the steam coming off this fish and chips. We're going to play this mob. That was great.
Maybe an unkind question to ask, but have we got a day plan for the next 2 games?
It's what the players think. Really, it's up to them. They've got themselves in a hole. But this thing, when you lose a goal and suddenly, everything got wrong. That happens to everybody. It's how you react. You know, if you lose everybody loses a goal, you just got to pick it up and get on again.
Like we've done in the last 21.
I'll tell you what, they're lucky. It's alright, it's not very good, but at least they've got 2 games here, they can put it right.
See on your point there, after the Ross County game, there were 7 players down on their hands and knees, hands on the head, and that. The thing for me was there's nobody in the team. If that's my team, I'm telling every single one of the players to get up off their arse. I've got a game to go. There's nobody in the team showing any real leadership to say, I believe they've chucked it.
See what you're saying is exactly right. The time I was at Aberdeen, we played Rangers in the League Cup final at Hampden, and Rangers scored earlier on, and 4 Aberdeen players fell to the ground. First, just 1-0. See that 4, you could have took it off, because they had gave in. Fell to the floor, and 4 good players as well. So you've got 4 guys who gave up, and you're only so much into the game. It goes back to what I'm saying. It's what the player thinks. The player must want to win.
If you were in the dressing room 2 minutes before a game against Hamilton at Falkirk Club, what would you say to them? What would you say to these men?
I think with the two games, I think if you could tell them anything,
you're right.
Should be fun.
It was really just to go on from what you were saying there, how much of the negativity comes from the manager or the management team. Surely their job is to get the best out of their players.
I think when you're see when the manager's having his talk, if he makes it just a general talk to them all, some are different for others. You know, some players have got to speak nicely to come on. Other ones have got to get a kick to get them going. But if you just use a general thing to the whole lot of them, some of them miss it. Some of them miss it.
Has Butcher been given enough time for that? Does he should now know the ones to cuddle, the ones to shout at. He's got to.
He'll know. See, like say, go back to Alan Crowley. You know, if you say to Alan Crowley, you know, you'll catch the ball for 2 or 3 weeks. I'll show you. And he'll go out there for you. But you could say it to somebody else in that team, and he'd go in the half. Or he'd stand and look at, see if he kens anybody in town. If you make it a general statement, you're maybe not getting to some of them that need to be taken apart and say, listen, you're the best player we've got here. And this whole story, there's There's no point being a good player and no showing that you folk you're a good player.
agree.
If you're in a sticky position, and then it's the good players that go to drag, they've got to drag the rest of them with them. It doesn't work the other way. You know, the ordinary player will not take the good player, it's the good player that takes him well. And that's what it all comes into next week.
Where are they?
And if you're a cult,
Well, I don't know where they are.
if you're a job to make a cult, how many of the current squad would you keep?
Look at the current squad.
Current squad.
One.
Maybe 2, 3.
There you go.
But I'm sorry.
Just before I go, listen, thanks very much for this. I'd like you to, thanks to Patrick's branch for this. It'll be well used, it'll be appreciated. When you see some of the things that it does, it's terrific. I can't thank you. Thank you.